Spoilers for The Long Dark Episode 5. Obviously. So, Episode 5. It was absolute ass cheeks. I thought about recapping the story for this, but then I realized I simply do not care. For now, I'm going to start off with the positives, in my opinion. Don't worry, there weren't many. First things first, that train. That was, by a long shot, the best part of Episode 5. Dare I say, one of the best sections in Wintermute. It was frustrating stopping for coal, but it was so much fun watching Astrid have fun and going, woohoo! As the train barreled through snow mounds. Props to the voice actors for selling the excitement here. Another highlight I wanted to mention was the cargo ship during Astrid's section. The moment I was on the ship, I got chills. There was no music, no ambience, just the natural sounds in the atmosphere and the occasional ship creaking. When I got to the blood splatters, I knew this was going to be a lot. In a good way. It was absolutely horrifying seeing so many dead bodies in various states. It really got to me, especially with how uneasy Astrid was and how she kept audibly saying she wanted to get out ASAP. It was incredibly unsettling in the best way. That last shot with Astrid staring out at the dozens of bodies frozen and dead along the ice was haunting. A great job all around. This is a very small point, but I still felt the need to bring it up. Upon booting up for the first time, I noticed a new, notice that said Hinterland has not, will not, and does not condone generative AI. I say good, because no matter how bad or good or meh the episode or overall game is to you, generative AI is not the way to go. So kudos to them for standing their ground on that point. Now for the negatives. Oh boy. Let's get the biggest one out of the way. The ending. Are you fucking kidding? Mackenzie and Astrid finally reunite after first crashing in episode 1. I teared up, I'm not gonna lie. It was beautiful to see them reunite again. That is until Mackenzie said he had one more thing to do and leaves them. What's the thing he was going to do, you might ask? Surely it's some unfinished business with Mathis? Maybe going to kill him? Or maybe he knows someone that got left behind and he wants to rescue them. No, none of that. He goes to the Perseverance Mills Radio Shack, not the store, to broadcast a message that literally no one will receive. Not only is everyone he knows and other people safe in the shelter at this point, along with Astrid, Jace, Jeremiah, and others, but anyone else outside of there is already dead. Maybe there's stragglers here and there, but what is the message supposed to do for them? And then his bitch ass falls asleep after name-dropping his dead kid for the second time in the entire storyline. Afterwards, Mathis finds him and it just gets worse from there. Not only does Mackenzie get to the shelter and see Astrid and crew, but Jeremiah has a shotgun and Molly has her bow and arrows. The prison goons are unarmed, save for Mathis and his knife, and only have torches. Plus there's like 5 of them, and they already kill 2 of them when they try to get into the shelter as the doors are closing. Why not end Mathis then and there? But no, they had to make a bullshit ending. And for some reason, Mathis, the man who's been trying to kill Mackenzie the entire time, just lets him live? I can only imagine why, is that Mackenzie is a wilderness survival at this point, and Mathis sees this and is going to use him for that. But it still doesn't make much sense. Mackenzie as a character in this episode was so different and out of character. He just didn't feel like the Mackenzie we've grown to know over the years. The entire episode also felt incredibly rushed. Graphics were glitchy, the story didn't wrap up most of our questions, and not to mention the absurd amount of bugs all over the place. I kept having to reload saves, and so did a friend of mine. They had to reload 30 minutes prior because of a glitch. The cutscenes as well were way too long. I sat watching a cutscene from Dr. Atwood for 15 minutes straight. My aunt, who was in the same room, asked me if I had started watching a movie. I replied with, "It sure feels like it." There were far too many cutscenes and little gameplay, something that hasn't been present in the previous episodes. Speaking of not being in the other episodes, that stealth scene, huh? Sure, it was interesting to sneak past the convicts, though the more I think about it, the more it confuses me. Where the hell did they all come from anyway? And why was Mackenzie so good and eager about strangling some of them to find Astrid, when just a couple episodes back he felt bad about killing a bear? It felt incredibly out of character for him, though, again, the convicts standing guard with torches were stupid as hell. What do you mean I can run right in front of them and they won't see me? Not only do they have light sources, but the town is on fire. And it's bright enough, even during the night, you can easily make out silhouettes of both animals and people. Their episode was pretty out of character. Also, the story mode first released episodes 1 and 2 in 2017, and we waited 5 years between episodes 4 and 5 for this absolute dog shit. This episode was rushed, awful, made no sense, and left more questions than answers.
What a mess.
The ending ruined the entire story for me, and I'm not joking. Knowing that Astrid and crew will be trapped in the shelter for at minimum 4 decades, while Mackenzie is basically a sort of hostage with Mathis, is frankly disappointing. It was a fully hopeless ending. I wasn't expecting a rainbows and sunshine ending, mind you, but I expected better than this. Especially after allegedly 5 years of work, with multiple delays? Did Hinterland even playtest anything? Don't ask me that, they have a track record. Remember the disaster that was the original Cougar update? The achievements are also, frankly, bullshit. Obviously, some of the new ones are gained through the story, i.e. the autopsy in Astrid's section is required, so it'll give you the achievement regardless. But a handful of them are insane. Dead Wake, which is described as collect all the writings and personal effects left behind by the ship's crew, is absolutely doable, though I didn't get it myself. However, there isn't some limit in this section, meaning you can freely explore the ship for hours on end if you want. The other 3 are not so forgiving. Finely Tuned is described as complete to SAR and back, without using more than 50 pieces of coal. How? I was playing on easy, and had to backtrack and find at least 100 pieces of coal to make it through the mission. My point earlier about enjoying the section still stands, however, but only when the train was actually moving. Once out of fuel, I was frustrated. Search Party requires you to find the 3 missing townspeople in Perseverance Mills in under 40 real-time minutes. Are you kidding me with this one? The map is big here, and unless you know exactly where the people are, it'll take you longer than 40 minutes. Finally, the most bullshit achievement of them all, Wild at Heart. You're meant to kill the cougar in the geothermal region. Sounds easy enough, right? Well, even on easy, the cougar is difficult to kill. It attacks you and knocks your weapon from your hands. But Lexi, you might call out, surely you can kill it and finish the story. Well, probably. I clearly didn't, but I'm sure it's possible. The reason why it's so bullshit is that you're playing as Mackenzie and you have to flip the switches to turn on the geothermal machines. You have a strict time limit here. There's barely any room to take a breath in between the 3 machines. Not only that, but as you're making your way back, fog obscures your vision and you can't see 5 feet ahead of you. How are you meant to kill the cougar under these circumstances? This is probably just a me complaint, but I still find it shitty. My friend, who I mentioned earlier that encountered the glitch, told me that they tried multiple times to kill the cougar on easy mode. They used half of their shotgun shells to shoot it, but since it constantly runs away and climbs up the rocks, it's damn near impossible to kill it within the 2-hour in-game time limit. Don't bother stocking up on supplies either. As you switch back and forth between Astrid and Mackenzie, the supplies you collect will disappear. Also, the cutscenes and switches happen enough to the point where you don't even need to eat. I drank 3 cups of coffee and I think I ate a bit of peanut butter as Mackenzie in the beginning, then didn't have to worry about stats the rest of the game. Forget sleeping too, as neither side will let you sleep for most of the respective sections. There are like 2 times each that you can sleep, but unless you take your time with everything, you won't need rest anyway. For a survival game, Episode 5 didn't have a whole lot of surviving. All in all, I'm extremely disappointed with Hinterland and their Wintermute story. I can safely say that I will never replay Episode 5 in particular, and I will not be replaying the story mode for a long time. This is still a good survival game, however, so if you want to save yourself the heartbreak and upset of having a half-baked ending and a convoluted story, just buy the survival mode. Thank you for watching, and please leave a like if you enjoyed. Comment down below if you want me to make more videos like this. I've got a few ideas in the works for other types of videos.